Well, hello friends, and welcome to another WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado, where I separate the truth from bullshit, facts from fiction, in plain English. Today I have an interesting video for you. It's a topic that has been on my mind for a very long time and has been occupying a lot of space on my mind and in my heart. It's a topic that's not foreign to any one of you because you've heard me talk about it several times in my videos. But today, more so than ever, I believe that I need to enlighten you in some of the things that I have discovered so that you too are in the know. So without any further ado, let's get at it. Well, friends, it wouldn't be a WSIB Truth Matters video without my usual salute to the WSIB. First, I want to wish you and your family, for those of you who are Christians and celebrate Easter, a blessed Easter. And that it may be a time of inner reflection, and as you contemplate the future and how much of that goodness and joy that you have in your hearts and compassion that you can impart to those as you go in the days to come. Jesus, our teacher, taught us many really good examples of that. For those of you who do not celebrate Easter, I want to wish you also an amazing weekend full of joy and peace with your families. Today's video is about the invisible crisis. I'm going to talk about the WSIB, Jeff Lang, its president, and the mental health death toll from 2022 to 2026. And we're just starting 2026, so a little over 3 years. A lot of damage in that short amount of time. I don't usually do this, but I want to dedicate this video to those of you who are suffering with mental health issues right now watching this video. I see your struggles, I understand your struggles, and this is for you. I want to dedicate this video to those who don't have a voice, such as fathers, mothers, siblings, sons, daughters, grandparents, family, who watch a loved one suffer with mental health issues and are not able to do much to help. I want to dedicate this video to those who have been forever silenced, who felt that by taking their own lives to escape the unbearable pain and mental anguish that they were experiencing, what they had to endure. And for them, that was the only way out. And I also want to dedicate this video to those of you who are working tirelessly, advocates, those in government, MPPs, or other government branches, lawyers, paralegals, friends, volunteers, all of you who work tirelessly to try and ease their pain and make things more bearable. Sadly, the one organization that should be making major moves and strides in helping injured and ill workers with their mental health issues has fallen miserably short, in my opinion. And the statistics that I'm going to share with you today will confirm that to be true. Since becoming president and CEO of the WSIB in February of 2022, a few short years ago, Jeff Lang has overseen a period where mental health has become a leading driver of disability claims, and the system yet is toxic and is in a crisis stage. And yet, those who require help continue to be ignored. I'm going to show a few statistics. These aren't my words and my numbers. These are statistics. And I do my homework and I do my research before I speak with anyone on any issue with the WSIB, because I strive to give you accurate information. Key statistics from 2022 to 2026, a little over 3 years. The number of allowed mental health claims, as you're going to see here on the screen, peaked in 2022 at approximately 3,485. And it has remained that number in about 33,000 through 2025. So it hasn't decreased minimally. If so, but I don't believe that it has. I believe that the numbers are far worse than that. When dealing with or looking at statistics for worker fatalities in Ontario, the WSIB recognized over 300 allowed worker death claims in 2023. But research suggests that the true toll, including occupational disease and unreported cases, are upwards of 3,000 annually. Suicide and mental stress claims, while the WSIB doesn't always list suicide because they don't like that number as its own category in their reporting, regardless, mental illness is now of the top 3 drivers of all disability claims. It's serious, my friends. And those of you who are watching, who are in this situation, or who know a loved one or a friend who is in this situation, would understand what I'm talking about and the sense of urgency. But you see, this isn't restricted to just injured workers, to claimants. During the 2025 lockout, where 3,600 frontline workers of the WSIB, there is an alarming rate of suicidal tendencies among those workers, among those employees, due to heavy workloads under Lang's leadership. Because from everything I've seen, Lang isn't interested in helping injured workers. He's interested in helping employers. Again, that is based on statistics, real statistics. The two faces of Jeff Lang. First of all, I have done an incredible amount of research on this person. And I have far more information to share that would be of significant interest to many watching this video. including those who are involved with organizations to help and make change within the WSIB, but aren't really aware of what this guy is all about and why he was installed as the Chief Operating Officer and President of the WSIB. Because in my opinion, there were far more individuals who were far more qualified to lead this organization, and perhaps some of them who have worked within the WSIB for decades, such as the Chief Operating Officer, Gavin Pokin, who went from becoming a claims adjudicator about 3 decades ago, and over the years escalated through every position to the position of Chief Operating Officer. And why would a guy like Gavin Pokin be passed over by a guy like Lang, who has zero experience in dealing with work injuries and the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act and things of that nature? But that's for another day. Today I'm going to focus on mental health. Jeff Lang's, the two faces of Jeff Lang is that in his public statements, he talks about making Ontario safer. In the meantime, there's a 2005 lockout where his employees walk off the job, the first time in history, because of too many claims, the stress of managing too many claims, right? Burnout. A lot of them talking about mental or suicide ideation within his own house. How does that reconcile itself with making Ontario safer? All of this while making the human cost of mental health injuries greater. Because what I've observed over the last 3 years, and I have a vantage point that I don't even believe Jeff Lang has. I get to see and hear the stories from injured workers all over this province, from all walks of life. In fact, data from the Institute of Work and Health, their numbers, and they've indicated this in statistics, that it doesn't even account for the thousands of denied or abandoned claims. We're just talking about claims that were accepted. And we all know how tiny that number is. In the meantime, first responders, police officers, nurses, fire people, those involved in helping when there's a fatality or there's an accident or somebody is in a crisis situation at work. They account for 60% of mental health claims. And even they face systemic barriers. And they have a clause in the Workplace Safety and Insurance Act, right? Where basically, if there's a claim, that it should be automatically assumed. It's the presumption clause that their condition resulted from their work, and that so that treatment can be provided without delay. And they still have to jump through hoops. They still have to deal with their doctor, their psychiatrists, their psychologists, their therapists, making recommendations for treatment, letting the WSIB win or when they're ready to return to work or when they're not ready to return to work, only to have case managers and directors overrule these doctors without any medical fucking training whatsoever, or an opinion from one of their own doctors to be able to counter that opinion. They're just doing this flagrantly without even an ounce of reservation. And that's because it's coming from the top. I believe a lot of these people sympathize and empathize with these people who are making claims, looking for treatment. But if those at the top are pulling the purse strings, their fucking job is just useless. They're pissing into the wind, right? There are many or several organizations out there who are continuously presenting the government, the WSIB, with arguments concerning the risk of deeming workers and the impact that deeming workers has on their mental health, because they're forcing injured workers to either go back to work injured or into a retraining program where they have absolutely no hope of getting a job. And then after that retraining program, even though there may not even be a job available to them, they deem that they're able to work in that job, and they reduce their benefits. That has a direct impact on people, on workers that are looking to get better and to feed their families, pay their bills, right? But then it doesn't stop there with Lang, right? Because he was pushed to the brink with the strike. They pushed his back. They put him right up against the wall in a corner, right? This is after he'd done what I believe to be significant irreparable harm, right? And they put him up against the wall, his own people, the ones who were striking, and they said, no, we can't continue to work this way. And so then Lang, in a what I believe to be a jerk reaction, we're going to make sure that every one of our employees has access to mental health support 100%. Well, that's a double standard. And while those people might need it, why is it that workers who have legitimate claims have to jump through hoops and be subjected to limitations due to paper doctor reviews and denials by people who are not qualified to make those decisions? It's a double standard, right? But it shows you just how much this guy cares. And then he lied, according to his own union, where during the strike, he implemented a process, and that documentation was leaked, where as a negotiation tactic, kind of like, well, we don't really need you. You're out there on the picket line, but that's fine. We can do without you, by allowing claims that maybe didn't have merit. And then after the strike, starting to deny them, which I've seen a lot of that happen, which creates in itself mental stress. The president of the union, Harry Gosselin, he said, quote, if a regular Ontarian lied to their boss, there would be consequences. But Jeff Lang walks away unscathed, end quote. Let's talk about the finances, because for as much as Jeff Lang or anybody in the government who has supported this agenda and would say that the system is weak, that there aren't sufficient finances to meet the needs of injured workers. Well, let me tell you that that's not true. You see, when we look at numbers, since Jeff Lang became president, in April of 2022, there was $1.2 billion given back to employers. But that wasn't enough, because in February of 2025, he had to backed that up with an even more generous amount of $2 billion back to employers. And as if that wasn't enough, in October of the same year, 2025, there was another $2 billion in surplus monies given back to employers. That's $5.2 billion in a little over 2 years. I could go over all of the fucking things that are wrong with that, because this system wasn't set up for that. It wasn't set up to give money back to employers. It wasn't. You've seen some of my videos, and I could spend a long, but I'm not going to go that way because I want to keep the focus on this guy, right? In 2025, surpluses were being given back. In the meantime, 100,000 claimants were fucked over because of a $42 million mistake. They call it a coding error, which then they had to give that money back, right? This is on his watch. They had no problem giving back money to employers, but workers who were fucked out of $42 million, that took a little bit of time to make sure everything was done properly, the math and yada, 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 to get that money back. Isn't it a fucking joke? Yeah, it's a fucking joke, right? And then if that isn't enough, he decides, I'm going to give $65 million research grant in London, his hometown, right? Just recently. And again, we'll put that money into research rather than into the hands of families who are struggling, who should be paid, right? This is a fucking joke. This is outrageous. But the thing with this guy is he believes he is untouchable. He believes that he's God, that he can do whatever he wants, right? Because the idiots who installed him in that job, yes, you heard me right, the fucking idiots, actually, let me re-emphasize that. Those in the government, some of them who are still there, who thought it was a good idea to put this guy where he is. When they told him before he being hired or appointed, they said, you can't be a member of the London Police Services Board while at the same time being the president and CEO of the WSIB. So he resigned from the Police Services Board in February of 2022. But then recently, in January of 2026, he decided to take another position. On the Police Services Board, right? Because now he can, his arrogance tells him that he can do both effectively. You tell me what you think, right? And I watched his swearing in video on CTV, and I watched this guy as he said these words: I solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as a member of the London Police Services Board faithfully, impartially, and according to the law. I remember thinking to myself, what an arrogant fucking prick. Do you think you're God? You know how many injured workers have died on your watch? Let me tell you, Jeff Lang, I've seen firsthand how the families of a worker who commits suicide is treated by you, not just your organization, by you personally. And if you think for a second that this is going away, that somehow all of the groups who may not necessarily have the balls to say what I'm saying and to continue to push the buttons. We're just getting started, my friend. There's no room in this organization for you or these people's lives, in my opinion. So fuck off.